Before sunrise, Missy Bevers pulled into the parking lot of the Creekside Church of Christ. She was there to lead an early morning fitness class, something she had done countless times before. But this time, something was wrong. Inside, someone was already waiting, dressed head to toe in tactical police gear, caught on camera, moving through the darkened halls with chilling calm. By the end of that morning, Midlothian would be in shock, and Missy's family would be left searching for answers that have never fully come. This is the haunting case of Missy Bevers. You're watching Unread Files. Let's get into it. Who was Missy Bevers? Missy Bevers was a 45-year-old mother of 3 daughters. She lived in Midlothian, Texas, and was widely known in her community for her energetic spirit and her passion for fitness. Missy taught outdoor boot camp classes for Camp Gladiator, motivating dozens of local residents every week. But behind the scenes, things weren't perfect. Investigators later discovered that Missy had been communicating online with acquaintances in a way described as friendly and sometimes personal. Some messages suggested possible strains in her marriage, but nothing definitive was ever linked to her death. Still, Missy stayed committed to her family and her career. On April 17, 2016, the night before her death, Missy posted on Facebook encouraging her students to come to class despite the thunderstorms forecasted for the next morning. She wrote, "If it's raining, we're still training." Her class was scheduled for 5 a.m. at Creekside Church of Christ, one of her regular locations. At around 3:50 a.m., Missy sent her last known message, reminding students about the class. By 4 a.m., she left her home and began the short drive to the church. The chilling surveillance footage. What she didn't know was that the church had already been broken into, at least an hour before she arrived. At approximately 3:50 a.m., security cameras inside Creekside Church recorded a figure walking through the darkened building. The individual was dressed in what appeared to be full SWAT gear: helmet, body armor, gloves, and tactical clothing, even patches that said police. They carried a hammer or mallet-like object and casually opened doors, peering into rooms and sometimes smashing windows. Their movements were slow and deliberate, almost as if they had all the time in the world. The footage showed the suspect wandering the halls for several minutes. Their face was obscured by the helmet. Their gender was unclear, although many observers noted the person's small frame and slightly unusual walk, speculating it might be a woman. Police estimated the suspect's height between 5 feet 2 inches and 5 feet 7 inches. The footage also showed something else. The suspect had a distinct, somewhat awkward gait, almost a slight limp or an odd way of bending the knees. By the time Missy arrived around 4:16 a.m., it's believed the suspect was still inside. The discovery. At approximately 5 a.m., several of Missy's students began arriving for class. They immediately noticed something was wrong. The glass on a side door had been shattered. Inside, the building was dark and silent. Then they found Missy. She was lying near the main entrance, surrounded by broken glass and blood. She had suffered multiple blunt force injuries, believed to have been inflicted with a hammer-like object. Paramedics were called immediately, but it was too late. Missy Bevers was pronounced dead at the scene. The news of her death stunned the Midlothian community. This wasn't just a random crime. Missy was a well-known figure, a mother, a coach, a friend, and now she had been brutally attacked inside a place of worship. The investigation begins. The police quickly launched an investigation. First, they examined the scene. Nothing was stolen. No cash, no electronics, no donations. This wasn't a robbery gone wrong. It looked personal. Attention soon turned to Missy's personal relationships. Investigators obtained search warrants for her phone, her emails, and her social media accounts. They discovered communications suggesting possible strains in her marriage. However, no direct link between her personal life and her murder was ever established. Her husband, Brandon Bevers, was quickly looked at, but he had a rock-solid alibi. He was in Mississippi on a fishing trip at the time of the murder. Phone records, credit card receipts, and witness statements backed up his story. Another family member came under public scrutiny, Randy Bevers, Missy's father-in-law. Some internet sleuths pointed out that Randy's gait, shown in a wedding video, looked similar to the suspect's limp-like walk captured in the church surveillance footage. But police later stated publicly that Randy had been ruled out as a suspect. He had a credible alibi, and there was no physical evidence linking him to the crime. Theories about the killer. The suspect's tactical gear raised serious questions. Was it a real police uniform? A convincing replica? If it was fake, who would go to such extreme lengths to disguise themselves? As tips poured in, investigators chased down dozens of leads. One early tip involved a man seen days before the murder at a nearby sporting goods store. He was wearing what appeared to be tactical gear and acting suspiciously. But after investigation, police cleared him of any involvement. In 2017, investigators revealed a major development. DNA had been recovered from the crime scene. They didn't specify where exactly it was found, only that it had been entered into CODIS, the national DNA database. So far, there have been no matches. They also noted that the suspect likely had a working knowledge of the church layout. They moved purposefully, even in the dark. They knew where the entrances and exits were. Despite all the surveillance footage, DNA evidence, and public tips, no one has ever been arrested. Was it personal? Some theorize that the murder was a crime of passion, fueled by jealousy or betrayal. Others believe it could have been a planned hit, someone hired to make the killing look like a random act. The tactical gear could have been used to confuse Missy, to make her believe she was safe. After all, seeing someone in police uniform might lower your guard, even in the dark, even in an empty church. Another theory suggests that the suspect was staging a burglary to cover up their true intent. But if that was the case, why not steal anything? Why not create more chaos to support the story? The aftermath. Missy's murder rocked the town of Midlothian. Fear swept through the community. Attendance at church services plummeted. Local gyms and fitness groups began beefing up their security. Over the years, police have publicly reiterated that the case remains open. They continue to encourage anyone with information, no matter how small, to come forward. Missy's family has also spoken out repeatedly, urging the public not to forget her. Her daughters have grown up without their mother. Her husband, despite early suspicions, has tried to rebuild his life, while carrying the burden of unanswered questions. In interviews, the Midlothian Police Department has said they believe the case is solvable. They believe the killer is someone familiar with Missy, or familiar with the area. And they are confident that even the smallest tip could be the key to solving the mystery. Today, a reward remains active for information leading to an arrest and conviction. Unanswered questions. Nearly a decade later, the same chilling questions remain. Why was the killer dressed in full police gear? Was it to gain Missy's trust, or simply to sow confusion? Was the murder fueled by rage, or planned in cold blood? Despite cameras catching the suspect in the act, the case of Missy Bevers remains unsolved. One of the most haunting unsolved murders in modern Texas history. Thanks for watching Unread Files. If you're drawn to stories where the truth refuses to stay buried, subscribe and stay tuned.